startup ecosystem, what the idea is that you have to learn how to pitch your idea clearly and concisely. And once you learn how to do that, then you can bring in all the stakeholders and you can get into programs that'll help you and train you on how to build it. But that first step is you have to design a business model that is desirable.
When I initially moved back to Pensacola, I had a meeting with Lloyd. Lloyd invited me for breakfast, and I was telling him, man, I still have an idea for the entertainment industry. This is what I wanted to do. He was like, all right, I got Startup on the Blocks. So I need you to start coming to Startup on the Blocks and get a little more information on how to work through the tech ecosystem and take your idea and we'll get you where you need to go. My company is called The Know, is an app that is streamlining business for the entertainment industry. Yeah, so if you're a musician, what you would do is pretty much jump on the platform, you'll create a profile, but the way we created the profile is pretty much a cleaner way. So now if they want more information about you, you'll connect your social media platforms, your streaming platforms, and that way they can go directly to it. What we also have included is your calendar. So pretty much you can set your days, you can set your price for your days and automate your booking. So initially talking to Lloyd, my idea was all here, it was there, it was over here, it was over there. It was like, all right, Quinn, I get it. You got a lot that you want to do, but we need you to bring it in just a little bit and then work on your pitch, your story, and how you're going to bring it full circle to get people to understand what you're trying to create.
Most of the programs here wasn't inclusive, and so we said we'll focus on helping founders of color. We also start at the beginning of the thing, at the idea stage, whereas a lot of the programs you see here locally, they start after you're up, and that's not very efficient unless if you don't have a lot of money, you can't recover from your mistakes. And the Lean Startup system, it actually helps you make mistakes faster before you spend a lot of money. You don't actually start building anything until you got customer buy-in.
There was a need for small businesses to bring brand awareness to their business. I see there's a lot of makers and bakers that they're making all of these goodies and these products, but they can't market it, they can't sell it at the same time, and there needs to be kind of like that middleman, that middle person to help bring economic growth to some of the small businesses in Pensacola. So Taste of Pensacola, I came up with that idea during the pandemic when I saw things at that time that Amazon couldn't fulfill. They didn't even have those products, but the local people in the community, they did. And so there was a ton of people coming out saying, hey, I make masks. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. All the local people here that are just as talented that can actually make those products. And so I wanted to kind of showcase who they were. So with Taste of Pensacola, our income streams, we have several of them. We have the corporate America, we do corporate gifting, just regular consumers, different Pensacola natives that don't live here that want to purchase our boxes, like a taste of weddings, distribution. So we also do bulk sales. So for a private airline, if they want some local snacks and goodies on their passenger flights, they will come to Taste of Pensacola and we will source their vendors here locally. And we'll give a small business owner an opportunity to have reoccurring monthly sales. I've always had a really big vision for Taste of Pensacola. I knew that it could go beyond just local. I know that maybe other communities could possibly use the same platform that I'm trying to build. And I always have these big visions, but I never know how to even get there. Where do I start? I know it's more than, there's a lot of technical things behind it. I know there's a lot of research, but that connection, I never had it until, thankfully, I met and was introduced to Startups on the Blocks and was able to just learn more about how to grow it in terms of data. Things I just never thought about, framework, words like traction. There's a lot of things that I just did not know about and language that I need to know in order to get funding for my business. There's just a lot that I didn't know.
I would go to the stores and look online. They didn't have a wide variety of natural hair products about 8 years ago. And the ones that they did have, the ingredients, it would say that they were all natural. And when I would research the ingredients, a lot of the ingredients were not natural. I make everything, my shampoo, conditioner, I have an oil that I make, and I have 2 different separate butters. Like I had some people who were completely bald and grew their hair. It's about giving women their confidence back in their hair. I have this salon and then I have a second salon, and I have my products in about 5 beauty supply stores. So I need a manufacturer to keep up with the demand at this point. Startup on the Blocks has helped my business grow. Send me to different people. I'm able to do different pitch competitions to apply for grants in the community for small businesses. Lloyd's a really good person to connect with. He has a lot of resources here in the community that can help small businesses grow. If you have a product out there and you're trying to go big time, he's the person that you would want to meet with.
So it's really important to have some type of support because 9 times out of 10, most founders start out on their own. And to have somebody that has an idea of how the ecosystem works and is able to tap into other resources and bring back to the community, and that pretty much has encountered some of the roadblocks or going through the same roadblocks that we're currently going through and understands where you're at, your culture and how you respond to things, is a big help because you don't really have too many people that have access to what we have access to here in the community. And a lot of people believe that you have to leave and go to bigger cities to do the things that we're doing here. But I mean, it's one thing to have exposure, but you have to actually know it's here in the community in order to take advantage of the resources. So I get approached and I talk to friends all the time that wants to either start an idea or hear that I'm actually doing the app and wants to know more information about how are you doing it or what's the process, what's the path. I'm like, man, we have somebody here, Start Up on the Blocks, Lloyd Reshard. And Lloyd is here, he's a great resource to the community and to founders that's trying to learn the ecosystem. So join Start Up on the Blocks.
Welcome, welcome, everybody. Glad to have you here for another Startup Founder Best Practices. Excited about tonight. I'm always talking to founders and people who have ideas and trying to get some advice on how to move forward. And so that's how I come up with a lot of ideas from my topics. But because people are out there trying to make progress and not familiar with the landscape of the startup ecosystem, business models, playbooks, and when we got started, we were all about playbooks, and so that's. I guess in the old days, I see Dr. Russ Bonds on here. I guess in the old days with the military, we call them SOPs, and with the government, but now in the startup world, they call them playbooks. And so so the bottom line is what is the playbook you're following? Are you following a playbook from the 90s, or are you following a current playbook, based on what the economy is now? First, I want to share my screen here and share a message. I just happened to see this morning. Folks that are up here on the Gulf Coast in the Pensacola, Mobile, Gulf Coast, New Orleans, Gulf Coast, the innovation portal over in Mobile, they're having they do this G-Beta Gulf Coast, and it's like a 7-week program. And what I noticed was different about this particular version, they're covering $10,000 of your startup expenses, which is I think that's a pretty neat deal. So if you're having to pay the developer, you're having to pay for some marketing, some ads, you get in the program, at least you got $10,000 to spend there. So I'll put this link in there, and that innovation portal that they have a bunch of good programs, and so just be aware of the opportunity, to take advantage of. So the link right there. But that's run by Generator. But they I guess what I learned visiting Innovation Portal, the state of Alabama actually pays the fees for them to do their G-Beta program, which is, I think that's pretty sweet. So those of you all in Florida and these other states, get your states to pay for stuff like that so the founders can actually participate. So I just want to make sure, since that's deadline is coming up on the 15th, Sunday, I figured to, at least put the word out there. So if you know some founders up this way, definitely have them take advantage. And they got plenty of other programs up there. So the innovation portal is the thing up there. All righty, so let's get into our program today, and so this is all about uh, you and sharing and just helping, trying to pass some tips along and helping you grow your business and trying to help you learn the best practices of doing it. And there are a lot of best practices out there. So the only way you're going to learn them is you got to get out there and hang around other founders and do stuff. But tonight I just thought I would kind of highlight some things that I think a bunch of us, take for granted, when it comes to this kind of stuff. So, and this thought came to me, uh, you know, uh, about the Startup Founder Playbook. So, say what playbook you as a founder, what which one are you following? What are you following? Are you following something from the 90s, or are you following something from the early 2000s, 2010, 2020s? Because the playbook has evolved, and and it triggers. So if you don't know how the world works when it comes to entrepreneurs, founders, when what's the difference between entrepreneur and a founder? In the old days, we always talked about entrepreneurs, and now we talk about founders. So, have you thought about what is the difference between those two things? I remember when I first started doing the Startup Founder Best Practice 5.5 years ago. Kind of friend of mine, I've been knowing him from the 90s, and he's definitely an entrepreneur. And I was telling him about this startup stuff. He said, well, what are you going to tell me about entrepreneurship? I've been doing entrepreneurship for years. But the question I say right now, which playbook are you following? Are you following that playbook from 20 years ago? Or are you following the new playbooks? And so that's what we're doing. And my job mainly is coaching. I'm not necessarily a mentor. I can mentor people on AI and using AI and stuff, but that's not, but my thing is to help people understand the process of building a startup, uh, and the more based on what the new economy is. And so, I guess got to update those playbooks. And this is just a grandiose thing about some of the things I'm going to be covering today. Back in the 90s, business plans, go out and get loans. And one thing I noticed when I retired for the government, I started seeing the startup world, and I say, one approach, I can pursue a business idea where I had to go out there and get loans and, leverage my credit. But then I noticed the startup ecosystem, they give you money and they don't ever check your credit. And I'm saying, which route am I going to go on? Which route am I going to go? I'm going to try this startup stuff because it seems to have a lot of more resources and a lot more people to help you. So that's kind of what the deal was there. And so now, and this stuff is changing fast because the economy is changing. And so this is kind of overall thing. If any of y'all want to copy this, I'll be glad to share it. So most of y'all know how to get a hold of me. Just Google Lloyd Reshard, and you'll find what you need to get hold to me. But it's just Lloyd Reshard at the Kokua Institute.org. But yeah, so that's what we're going to do. So in the 90s, you had the business plan, bank approval, saving, 2015. Lean startup, product market fit, about the customer behavior and so on. And 2025 is all about, AI. 2026, all about AI. And so that's something we all got to warm up to because, the world has literally changed. So quick shout out to our partners and sponsors. We couldn't keep the ball rolling without them, and we definitely appreciate that. And our core programs are the frameworks of the LEANSTACK and Startup Science. And like I said, we're here all about startup founder best practices. And it's, so the bottom line is, if you want to get help, you have to know how to pitch your business model. And so That's the first thing. So most people pitch their product. We help you understand and give you the framework on how to, design a scalable business model and how to pitch it. I don't care whether you already got a bunch of money or you don't have any money. You still got to pitch a business model. And so so and the neat thing about the startup ecosystem, you can take advantage of it at the idea stage before you actually even go out and start a business. And so all of these things are contrary to a lot of beliefs, because people are still trying to follow old playbooks. And it's all about this journey of getting through these stages or phases of a startup, and that's what you got to really. So even here at these early stages, you pitch your business model. You don't pitch your product. So you pitch what you're building and how you plan to make money with it. And so that's really the key thing. So you definitely got to be comfortable these days get comfortable with AI these days, though. Startup science, I heard, I never explained it like this, but so if you don't already have access to startup science, definitely go to apply.kakuainstitute.org and make sure you get access to it, because the way they describe it now, it's like the whole startup ecosystem in a box. It's one-stop shopping for training, all the funding stuff. It's just a one-stop shop. It's got the perks in there for free and discount software, cloud credits, one-stop shop ecosystem. So that's really a big help, big help for you. So that's the kind of stuff. And this is my favorite chart, because it in one chart it explains the process. We work with the lean canvas. That's what these things are. There's 9 blocks or so there, and you trying to find that customer segment that's going to give you the most traction. Righty. So let's see. I'll stop sharing my screen there, and I put together a series of videos just to kind of cover the topic tonight. But feel free, to ask questions on if you got any questions about how the ecosystem or all this stuff means. That's what I'm here for, because it's you have to understand this if you want to take advantage of the ecosystem. So let's see what we can do here. This first video that I want to show it's how do you think about entrepreneur. And when I grew up, it was all about entrepreneurship and knowing what entrepreneur was. But now you hear a lot, use the term founder, and we call it startup founder best practices. We don't call it startup entrepreneur best practice. But those two terms, we use them interchangeably, but they're different. And so this first video, it should give you a kind of an idea what that's all about. So I'm going to go ahead and play it. Let me know if you have any questions. Okay, you're supposed to get on the screen here. Why aren't you getting on? Let's see. Excuse me. Let me see. Can I make it work? I had this problem a couple of weeks ago, and I'm not sure why. Oh, here we go. There we go. Now we're making sense. All righty. So let's make sure we got the right one here. Yep, it's the right one. So let's get it playing. Bear with me just a second. Oh, technology. Let's see, can we try one more time? It says it's playing, but I don't hear anything. Let me know. Did y'all hear anything? Because I didn't hear anything. And there's always more than one way to skin a cat. If this doesn't work, I have my alternative way, backup way. Okay. Still don't seem to. Did have this problem a couple of weeks ago, but I'm going to stop sharing this screen. I'm going to remove this and I'm going to share my big screen.
You know, what if the reason some companies scale and others just stall out isn't really about effort or smarts or even...
We're almost there, folks, so bear with me just a little bit here. I'm doing it the way it's supposed to be easiest, but I got to go to the old way. Share screen, sound, entire screen. Here we go.
You know, what if the reason some companies scale and others just stall out isn't really about effort or smarts or even funding? What if it's just the playbook? What if the actual rules of the game changed and a lot of us never got the memo? Because if the rules have changed, we've got to know what they are now. So let's break down this new playbook.
Okay, let's start with two words we hear all the time: entrepreneur and founder. We kind of use them interchangeably, right? And for a long time, that was totally fine. But over the last 30 years or so, a huge gap has opened up between them. And honestly, understanding that gap is everything.
And this gets right to the heart of it all.
This isn't just about semantics or what you put on your LinkedIn profile. It's about a deep, fundamental change in how we think about building something valuable. The words changed because the entire mindset underneath them changed. They're a signal of a much, much bigger evolution. So let's go back in time for a minute to really get how this whole split started. We're going to compare these two identities, starting back when they were pretty much the same thing. Think back to the 1990s. The world was, well, a little bit simpler. Didn't matter if you owned a restaurant, a local franchise, or even an early tech company. You were an entrepreneur. That was the term. It was respectable. Everybody knew what it meant. Founder, that was, insider jargon. You'd really only hear it in the tiny bubble of Silicon Valley. It just wasn't mainstream yet. And that 1990s entrepreneur, they were operating from a very specific playbook, and it was driven by a very specific goal. Let's see how this all worked. The core belief back then was simple. You control your own destiny through ownership. The goal wasn't to take over the world. It was to escape the 9-to-5, build a stable income for your family, and be your own boss. The main driver was just independence. Yeah, growth was nice, but survival and security, that always came first. And this was the strategy. It was this linear, predictable sequence. You'd spend months, literally months, writing a massive 30-page business plan. Go get a bank loan, build the entire thing, and only then would you find out if anyone actually wanted it. All the risk was loaded right up front. Validation, if it ever came last. But then the world changed. Big time. The dot-com boom, Web 2.0, a few economic meltdowns, they all created this massive split. Suddenly, that startup founder identity started to break out from its niche. It became something new, something different, and something aspirational. And the playbook started evolving fast. We went from that bank loan era to the raise and scale venture capital era of the 2000s, where just getting massive was everything. Then, in the 2010s, data became king. We got obsessed with lean startup and product market fit. And that brings us to today, the age of AI and insane capital efficiency. Each one of these phases demanded a totally different strategy. So why did the playbooks change so dramatically? It wasn't some kind of moral shift. It was structural. The ground literally shifted under everyone's feet. Capital got tighter. AI made building things exponentially faster. And new tools meant you could test an idea in days, not months. The environment itself forced the strategy to evolve. And this brings us to today's split. Think of it like this. An entrepreneur often builds a great business. They're driven by revenue, by lifestyle, and what they're really signaling is agency and independence. But a founder designs a scalable system, almost like an architect. They're driven by growth and equity, signaling design and a grander vision. To put it really simply, one builds a great job for themselves, the other builds an asset. So let's really focus on this modern founder. Their identity has moved way beyond just starting something. They aren't just disruptors anymore. They are architects, designing these incredibly complex systems. The modern founder's core belief is all about leverage. Why hire 20 people when you can design an automated system that does the work of 50? The mindset has shifted from I will outwork everyone to I will outdesign everyone. It's about amplifying intelligence, not just throwing more bodies at a problem. And here is the modern playbook. I mean, just compare this to the 1995 version. It is completely inverted, flipped on its head. The entire goal is to reduce risk at every single step. You get evidence from real customers before you write one line of code. You get revenue before you even think about asking for a grant. You validate everything before you even dream of scaling. So let's trace this entire 30-year journey all in one go. We went from wanting independence and a stable income in the 90s to market disruption and massive scale in the 2000s, to data-driven validation and product market fit in the 2010s, and now, here in the AI era, the whole game is about leverage. And success? It's defined by intelligence amplification. So, the big question that this all leads to is, what playbook are you operating from? Or maybe, what playbook are the people in your community operating from? It might just be time for an update. And this is a really, really important point. If you find yourself using an older playbook, it's almost never a talent gap. It is an exposure gap. So many of us learn the game from systems like small business centers or university programs that were themselves built on those older 1990s models. So the takeaway here isn't to feel like you're behind. It's to feel empowered. We're not broken. We don't need to be fixed. We're simply upgrading our operating system to match the reality of today's game. And this leaves us with one final critical question. This isn't just about your playbook anymore. Take a look at the entire ecosystem around you. The organizations, the mentors, the institutions. Are they teaching the game as it's played in 2025? Or are they still handing out the rulebook from 1995? Because when the playbook updates, the outcomes change right along with it.
Yes, it certainly does. So I hope that was meaningful because a lot of people are getting advice from these old playbooks, and we need to learn what these new playbooks are and how to thrive with them. The good news is it's all learnable, and anybody can follow it. You don't have to be this or that. And so it's real important. So anybody out there been getting advice from somebody using an old playbook that was, but typically, you have both mentors and coaches, but you, the founder, have to be careful on what playbook you're actually following. And so, so I see Dr. Barnes is saying yes there. But that's what you got to remember. You see people having success, and you see, but they're having success based off something that you don't understand, and so that's why participating in the ecosystem and it's so great. So you got the people in the ecosystem that have the connections, and so they can move faster. But if you don't have the connections, you have to learn these best practices, and in order to kind of start making progress. And Sam and I had a conversation about this back in December down in St. Pete. So it's definitely knowing these playbooks. So people are teaching what they're taught. That's exactly right. So to me, you always have to be trying to learn and and to move forward. And the good news is, and the way I approach it is, I don't like to reinvent the wheel on anything. When I work for the research lab, we follow the R&D playbook. As a startup founder, I'm trying to always learn the best practices for building a startup, and things are shifting faster and faster now. So so you have to learn how to embrace it, so you can actually move forward. Anybody else have any comments about just how you think of? And this to me, this is really important, because I run into a lot of ecosystem organizations that are still teaching the old playbook, and I don't get that. Why are you teaching our people these old playbooks? I just don't get it. It doesn't make sense. And so, yeah, it does. You got to learn the new playbooks, and with the artificial intelligence AI stuff, it definitely helps levels playing for actually learning stuff, but you have to know how to use it the correct way. So yeah, I can talk about this stuff for days. And so the key takeaway from the video that I just showed is and typically the way you can think about it is entrepreneur. I was talking to an investor, I guess earlier this year or late last year, and he was saying most of the business we're dealing with, they don't scale even one block over from where their business is. And so, and this is the reason why we teach business modeling, because you are in charge. You can design your own business model, and you can design it to scale and grow. You have established businesses out there that are doing well, and they come up with new products and services. They want to know how to scale them out. You have to learn what these best practices are. Or if you're new to the ecosystem and you have just an idea, you have to know how to work with that idea, how to stress test that idea, and that's what we help founders do, because it is important. So let me see, can I find anybody else got anything they want to share as it relates to that? So let's see what we want to do next here to kind of get everybody up to speed. I can talk about this stuff for forever, because I really love it. And so the next thing that I want to do before we get into the playbooks, I kind of want to have us reflect on how the mindset of the founder or the entrepreneur to the founder has changed, because people get hung up, that you do have to do a mindset shift as well. So let me get that set up here for you.
The word founder gets thrown around a lot. The word founder gets thrown around a lot. But what?
Let me get it set up, share my screen here. So many buttons to click here. Feel like I have to be a DJ, and I'm not a DJ.
What does it actually mean? Because I'll tell you what, the person we called an entrepreneur back in 1995 looks almost nothing like the founder of today. The entire mindset has gone through this absolutely radical transformation. So let's just ask the question head on. What does it really, truly mean to be a founder right now? I bet if you're picturing someone who just, owns their own business, that picture is about 30 years out of date. The reality today is so much more interesting. And here's the thing. This isn't about a new job title or some fancy corporate jargon. It's a full-on revolution in how founders think. It's a deep shift in their mental operating system, how they see the world, and crucially, where they believe value actually comes from. All right, let's trace this whole evolution, starting way back in the 90s. So our story starts in the 1990s, what we can call the era of control. This was all about one thing: breaking free. Breaking free from that predictable, often soul-crushing corporate ladder. It was about finally taking the reins for yourself. This right here was the core belief. It was the mantra. The ultimate goal wasn't to build a global empire. It was to achieve personal sovereignty, right? To have control over your own time, your income, and your future. The business was just the vehicle to get you there.
And just look at the mindset back then. The goals were so grounded, so tangible. People wanted to escape the 9 to 5, build a stable income for their family, and just create some security. The formula was super straightforward. If you worked hard, you'd build a stable, good life. Growth was great, sure, but stability was king. So when you boil it all down, the identity driver for the 90s founder was pure, simple independence. You built your own little kingdom and you were in charge. But as we all know, a tidal wave was coming. It was called the internet, and it was about to change the entire game. And that brings us right into our next chapter, the era of scale. This period, from the dot-com boom all the way to the rise of the smartphone, while technology didn't just bend the rules, it completely rewrote the playbook from scratch. This era really had two phases. In the early 2000s, everyone was buzzing with dot-com excitement, and the mantra was, technology changes everything. But, after that bubble burst, a really harsh lesson was learned. A new wisdom took over. Data determines truth. A cool idea wasn't enough anymore. You had to prove it with cold, hard numbers. The whole mindset just shifted. It became a race to scale fast, to be the first mover and capture the entire market. Venture capital wasn't just money, it was rocket fuel. We saw the rise of frameworks like the minimum viable product, the MVP, where you build the simplest possible version of your idea just to see if it works. Success wasn't about stability anymore. It was about chasing those insane hockey stick growth curves. So you can see how the founder's identity just completely evolved. They started the era as the disruptor, right? The person who is going to conquer the market. But by the late 2010s, they had morphed into this evidence-based operator. The conversation shifted from, hey, I have a great idea, to, okay, show me the data. And that brings us to right now, the era of systems. I mean, think about it. Shaped by a global pandemic, crazy supply chain collapses, and the absolute explosion of AI, today's founder is playing on a completely different field. The core belief today is all about two things: resilience and leverage. This idea of being anti-fragile. It's not just about surviving a crisis. It's about designing things so that you actually get stronger from chaos. And the way you do that is by leveraging intelligence, both human and artificial, instead of just hiring more people and throwing more labor at a problem. The whole orientation has changed. Founders today are thinking in terms of remote-first teams from day one. They're automating absolutely everything they can, and they're using AI almost like a co-pilot or even a co-founder. The whole game is about capital efficiency, getting a massive, massive output with an incredibly small and agile team. So the identity has evolved yet again. In the early 2020s, it was all about being adaptable, but now it's about being an architect. A modern founder doesn't just react and adapt to the world. No, they intentionally design the entire system, the team, the tech, the finances, to thrive in this new reality. Okay, so we've walked through these different eras, right? The 90s, the 2000s, today. But what's the one huge underlying change that connects all of them? What is the deep structural shift that's been happening this whole time? Well, the biggest change isn't about tactics. It's not about going from bank loans to venture capital or from a local shop to a global app. It's about something much deeper. It's about where the actual source of value creation, the locus of power, really is. And this, right here, this is the key to the entire story. Power has moved. In the 90s, value came from your labor. In the 2000s, it came from access to capital. By the 2010s, it was all about who had the best data. A few years ago, that shifted to who could build the most resilient systems. And today, right now, power is intelligence-centric. It belongs to whoever can best leverage intelligence itself. So with that in mind, knowing that the new locus of power is intelligence, what does that actually mean for the founder of 2025? How does this change the way you should be thinking, day to day? Well, this really says it all. The old mindset, the one based on labor, was pure brute force. I will outwork everyone. It was the peak of hustle culture.
The new mindset, the one centered on intelligence, is all about leverage. I will outdesign the system. It's the difference between trying to push a giant boulder up a hill and just building a better crane. So let's just put this all together. The entire definition of success has been rewritten over and over. We went from the 90s, where the driver was independence and success meant a stable income, to the 2000s, where disruption was the goal and success meant massive scale. And now, here in the AI era, the primary driver is leverage, and success is defined by something new, intelligence amplification. How well can you use technology to multiply your team's thinking power? It's a pretty incredible journey when you lay it all out. So I'll leave you with this one final question to think about. As you look at your own work, your own ambitions, ask yourself this: are you just trying to build a business, or are you consciously designing an intelligent system? Because in 2025, the answer to that question might just define everything. Thanks for tuning in.
Yes, yes, yes. Yep, this architect, yeah, I see that a lot. Instead of being an operator out there trying to do everything, you got to become an architect and design everything so folks can move forward. But the bottom line now is we're in an AI era, and so how do you operate in this era? So think about children and grandchildren. They're coming into this era, and things going to even change even more. And so, and what are we doing to get them ready? For this era, because as we learn, and I guess we need to teach them as well. We're always learning. This is not something anybody automatically knows. You learn about it and leverage it, to kind of move forward. Yeah, and mindset it's been my biggest challenge in working with founders, because if you have the mindset of the 90s or so forth, it's kind of hard to convince somebody that the things are changed now, but it's pretty evident that they're changed. So yeah, it's just, and the thing that's driving everything right now is, they said, in the video about intelligence. And so yeah, it's kind of funny. We call our program now the Founders Insight Program. But initially it was a founder intelligence program, but it wasn't about the intelligence of the person. It's how to get the intelligence out of your data and the insights out of your data. And so that will allow you to make decisions that will help your company grow faster. And that's what the competition is now, is who can learn the fastest. And the way you do experiments and leverage the AI to analyze the data to so you can actually move forward. So mindset is everything. You have to understand enough to do it. And so it hurts me to my heart when I see a founder say, I'm not going to tell anybody my idea. And how are you going to get help to do it if you don't tell anybody what your idea is? The internet is full of business ideas. People see when you put your website up, you're literally telling people what your business idea is. So what's wrong with telling people what your business idea is? We didn't say give away your trade secrets. So it's like your mindset. You don't want to let it, hold you back. It's so important, to kind of move forward now. And so what I'm doing tonight is just touching the surface of about the playbook and stuff. But what you want is it's more and more detailed, not just the surface level stuff. And so that's what we do at the Cooker Institute. And so we don't have a problem if you hear my voice now. You're welcome to engage with us and ask questions. whatever we have, you have, and so that's what I want you to know. You don't have to be out there by yourself trying to figure all this stuff out. And I love sharing what I learned over the years, and talking and conversing with founders and just learning. And people don't realize, it's like just participating in stuff you automatically gonna learn, and you'll be surprised what you will learn just by getting involved and moving forward. And we had Jermaine on a couple of weeks ago. He leveraged AI a lot with his startup, and basically he's saying, leverage the vibe coding, but like Sam will tell you, yes, yeah. So the Playbook, Sam, from the video. So you're watching on LinkedIn, so that video will be on LinkedIn. But if you go to our YouTube channel, Kakua Institute, those videos are there forever. And so if you log in on StreamYard, we leave those videos up for at least 6 months, so you can do it, can watch that. And a lot of you all that may not realize this, but really what's important is the transcript from the video. So what I always say, if you got a recorder, a phone on your phone or on your computer while the thing is playing, let it record it and then upload that audio to and get the transcript, and then leverage your large language models to kind of get the real insights out of it, because your brain can't process all of this information. I used to think I have to have the video, but now that I see what the AI can do, you don't necessarily, unless if you're just trying to follow some instructions, but just to get the insights from it, you're good to go. So that's where you can get all the playbacks. And I do analyze all the videos, and I can't, all the folks involved in that program, I can get you access to the key insights from those videos. And so just to be clear on that too, is my approach with all this stuff, no matter if it's like a session like this, or if it's an article that I read, or if it's a YouTube video that I watch, or like being down in Tampa, St. Pete, doing those workshops down there, of even, record the workshops of other people and myself. And I learn more from that, getting the insights from that, because it's when you have the interaction is when you actually get the insights. So just to show you all how powerful, Sam, I guess you were down there in St. Pete back in December. So Savola, she did a testimony. She taught her like an hour session on a method she had came up with, and so I of course I recorded it, and when I record something and analyze it, my prompt using the Lanika's verbose method of prompting, it actually turned her workshop into a prompt, so she can create an AI agent that she can now sell the AI agent along with going with her workshops. And I was on the meeting with her last week, and she says she's already making money from that. It's literally that simple. So I would just recommend that you definitely pay attention when I say something. It's actually it's a good idea to realize that it's important, because I'm a seasoned individual. Yep, and so it's pretty fantastic. And that's just you learn, and none of this stuff you can take advantage of stuff and move forward. So let me see, can I get our next little deal up here? So I think next week I'm going to go specifically into the playbook. How the playbooks themselves has actually changed, and so we kind of started off, with this idea, entrepreneur versus founder. And so, kind of reflect on that and kind of understand what that is. And then we went to the mindset, and the number one thing, the mindset. I remember when we started doing this 5.5 years ago with this one program, we didn't have a playbook, or we didn't have a training program. So what I had learned was the best practices were, participating in networking events every week on Thursday nights or whenever they do them in your local area, making sure, you putting your profile up on sites like f6s.com, frank6s.com, and so people can see you making progress with what you're building, and that's become your social credibility to get invited to participate in different programs in the ecosystem, from getting free software. Yeah, for example, like the way F6S works, some of you all might not know it. So if you go in there, you see they got all these freebies and discount software, but they won't just give it to you until you upgrade your profile so people can see what you're all about and what you're doing. And I still get invitations every day to programs just because of my F6S profile, my personal profile, and my startup profile. So the ecosystem works on this social credibility and seeing you make progress through these stages to seeing that you're actually getting traction. And so that's what you have to realize and understand. So people say, well, where can I find all these startup programs? Yeah, to me, they're all around you. You just got to realize that they're there and start looking for them. Yeah, get on these different sites, subscribe to these newsletters from these accelerator programs. And there's so many organizations out there trying to help founders. And if they don't know you exist, how can they help you, and help you move forward with what you're doing? You need to be trying to solve a big problem in order to kind of move forward. Let me share my screen again and find this founder playbook, how the founder playbook has changed over the years.
Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to break down how the entire rulebook for starting a company has been completely rewritten over the last, 35 years or so? We're going to see how we went from these huge, bulky business plans all the way to today's world of AI co-founders. And that quote really gets to the heart of it. Sure, the words we use, the way we think about startups, that's all changed. But the biggest change, the one that really, truly matters, it's the playbooks themselves, the actual strategies founders use to get off the ground. I mean, what a founder did back in 1990 is practically a different universe compared to today. Okay, so let's dive in. We're going to walk through this whole journey chronologically, basically decade by decade, to really see how we got here, how we ended up in this wild AI-first startup world we're living in right now. So first up, we have what we're calling the age of permission. This covers a pretty big chunk of time, from about 1990 all the way to 2010. And for those 2 decades, if you were a founder, your entire world revolved around one thing: getting permission. You had to convince a gatekeeper, someone with the money, to say yes before you could even think about building. And this era kind of had 2 different acts. First, you've got the 90s. This was the age of the beastly business plan. I'm talking a 50-page document with 5-year financial projections you probably just made up, all to get a bank loan. Then the 2000s hit, and it became the raise and scale game. the dot-com boom playbook, pitch a VC, get a ton of cash, and just burn it as fast as you can to grab market share. So you got to ask yourself, in this world, what even was a good idea? And maybe more importantly, who got to decide? Well, the answer might surprise you. Okay, so here's the absolute key. Validation was completely external. It had almost nothing to do with actual customers. The whole game was just persuasion. The big question wasn't, hey, do customers actually want this? Nope. It was, will the bank fund me, or can I get a VC to write me a check? That was it. All right, so that brings us to the next big shift, the age of evidence. We're talking 2010 to 2022. Suddenly, things like cloud computing and open source software made it ridiculously cheap to start a company. And that caused this huge power shift, right? The power moved away from the investors and landed squarely with the customer. And you can see this play out so clearly. The early 2010s, that was the heyday of the lean startup. Everybody was talking about MVPs and chasing product market fit, that magical moment when you know you've built something people really want. As the decade went on, that evolved. It became all about capital efficiency, using no-code tools, and trying to get revenue in the door from day one. So with this whole new evidence-based mindset, the game wasn't about talking a big game anymore. So how did you prove your idea was the real deal? Well, validation became all about one thing: cold, hard proof from the market itself. The core question completely flipped. It went from, can I get permission to build, to, can I get customers to pay me for this before I even ask for permission? And that right there was a massive seismic shift from chasing investor approval to chasing real customer behavior. And that brings us right up to today, to our third and final act, the age of leverage. This is all about what's happening right now. And thanks to the explosion in AI, the playbook isn't just changing, it's being rewritten at lightning speed. The new playbook, it's all about being AI native. See, it's not enough to just find proof anymore. The new game is about creating and using leverage. And let's be honest, the greatest source of leverage we've ever seen is artificial intelligence. Period. I mean, just think about what this means. You can have these tiny teams, sometimes just one person, producing the output of a company with dozens of employees. You can spin up experiments in hours, not weeks, using AI for research, coding, marketing. It's literally like having an AI co-founder working for you 24/7. So of course, validation has changed again. Now it's about finding a tiny signal in a massive ocean of data. It's about creating these super fast data loops where you can test an idea, get feedback, and iterate in minutes. Founders are using AI to see what people are searching for, testing ideas with niche communities, all before they've even written a line of the final code. Okay, so we've been on this wild 35-year ride. Let's pull back and look at the big picture. What does the modern playbook actually look like for someone starting a company right now? This table really lays it all out, doesn't it? You can just trace the story. We went from the old school business plan that a bank had to approve, to the raise and scale model where VCs were the gatekeepers, then to the lean method where customers had the final say. And now here we are in the AI era where it's all about data loops and being insanely capital efficient. And if you zoom out even more, you can see this really deep pattern. We've moved from prediction to permission to proof to profit, and now finally to leverage. We went from trying to guess the future to literally having the tools to build it ourselves on our own terms. And this quote just nails it. The old way of thinking was, oh, this is a hard problem. I need to hire 20 people. The new question is, how do I design the system so I don't need 20 people? That is a completely different way of thinking about building a company. So what does this all boil down to? It's a brand new playbook, a new set of rules. Get clarity before you code. Find demand before you build a product. Get a signal before you try to scale. Automate before you hire. Get revenue before you even think about talking to a VC. And use AI before you add headcount. That's the formula. So this leaves us with one last big idea. We're living in an age of just insane leverage. And because of that, the job of a founder has totally changed. It's not about managing resources anymore. It's about designing intelligence. So the real question for every founder out there is, what system are you going to build?
Cool. What system are you going to build? Yeah. And sometimes this stuff sounds a little scary, but you have the power now. You have the co-founder, co-pilot with AI, and you can literally design, um, architect something, and follow the process, and move forward with it. But it appears that AI, you got to warm up to AI. You have to embrace it, and to kind of move forward. And so, how does everybody feel about that this AI stuff, and leveraging it to kind of design a system, leveraging it to analyze uh, articles, leveraging it to analyze transcripts from meetings, leveraging it to analyze conversations with investors, leveraging it to analyze, you name it. And so right now, if the AI understand where you're trying to go, and you prompting against a framework, and it knows what you accomplish, it can lead you in the right direction. But you got to remember the large language models, the ones like ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, Claude. They're all designed to tell you what you want to hear. So you have to know how to prompt it so it can actually be critical. And Jermaine was on a couple of weeks ago, and he basically he says he doesn't even leverage those. He used the one that doesn't have all those safety features built in, and so that's kind of what the deal is. Yeah. So good luck, Sam. Yeah. So whatever help you need, please reach out. Definitely don't keep trying to reinvent the wheel on stuff. There are definitely some best practices out there on moving forward. And so, yeah, don't take anything for granted. Leverage the AI and stuff. Yes, and like I said, we're here, to help. And I posted in my office hours there on Saturdays. But if you feel free to reach out. I'll put my email in here for those of you that don't have it. If you got any questions about what I'm talking about, if you want to get access to any of the stuff I shared tonight, I do have some briefings too that I'm willing to share on this stuff. And yeah, we're all about trying to move forward. And so, yeah, we're all in this together, and we need to learn how to build these scalable business models, so we can build viable business models and have viable, sustainable companies. Yeah, we're definitely real excited. And Lisa was supposed to be on this week, so she's going to shift to the first week in March. We'll have Ray on next week, and he's totally into the AI stuff, and he's been leveraging it pretty heavy. So if you want to learn a little bit about how to use some of the tools, he'll be on next week. I will try to not let him get too technical, but Ray's a good guy, and he's building stuff, and so he can give you some insight on how to do that. Everybody, I'll be sending out the information, the registration information for our Founders Insight conference a summit which will be coming up on the 17th and 18th of April. We have a big reception on the evening of the 17th, and then we have an all-day workshop here on Saturdays. We have speakers coming in from all over, and we do this in conjunction with the Black Innovation Leaders of Florida. The first 2 years were a great success, and we're looking forward to helping founders keep moving forward. God bless you all, and we'll see you all next week. Thanks for chiming in.